It came to my attention recently that it has been 2 years since I decided to greenlight Project RBZ32 and order my RB26. And I've now realized something of why project cars have so little miles on them. Because working on a project car, it's kind of addicting. Don't get me wrong, guys, man, I love driving my car, I love enjoying the car, but just working on it and constantly doing that upgrade grind, figuring out new problems, solving new mysteries, that's kind of a fun thing, as long as they're not problems, you know what I mean? We've been talking about the recent batch of stuff that's on the shelf, cams, baffling, timing belt, and we are powder coating a lot of cool parts on the engine. And that's kind of what I've been up to and what we're gonna be working on today. First off, I've kind of been doing a little bit of work without you, but I've got good reason for it. So if I bring you under the hood of the RBZ, the valve covers and the top of the engine have been dismantled because I'm trying to get this stuff out to the powder coater and I needed to get it prepped. Guy's gonna be working on it this weekend. I was in a groove, I was in a zone, and let me show you what I did and where I'm at with the progress. So here are the valve covers that were on the engine. There's still a little bit of red on there. I've stripped off most of everything that's on here and he's gonna go ahead and blast the rest of it off. But I wanna draw your attention to some mods that I've made to the covers. So this hole here and these holes right here, and then I've also got some holes back here. All of that has been put into the valve cover to help relieve heat that exists underneath this cover that just kind of bakes the coils, the wiring harness, and all that other good stuff. I got some inspiration from some other folks on the Instagrams, and nerve-wracking to be sure drilling this out, but I think it turned out really sweet and really fine, and once it's actually powder coated, it's gonna be sick. In addition to the valve covers, I also talked about the extra batch of iron brakes that I've got, and I have completely torn those down. These are completely taken apart. All the seals and everything and all that crap's been removed. When it comes time to actually go back and do the rebuild of those calipers, once they're painted and I get the rebuild kits in, I'm gonna bring you guys along for that because I think that's kind of interesting, seeing how to rebuild a set of calipers. Look out for that sometime in the future once these things are all done. Going back to the RBZ, we've got to tear down everything in the front of the engine, take the timing belt off, take the cam gears off, and take the cams out. That is what we're going to be working on today. But you probably haven't seen it because I don't think I pointed the camera to it yet, but I alluded last time at the end of the video that there was another project that was waiting behind the camera, and guys, I want to show you what it is because it's pretty freaking sweet. This is a 1991 MR2 non-turbo, 93,000 miles on it. Amazing shape, guys. Original paint. Oh my gosh, everything about this car, super sexy, super fine. We're gonna be working on the timing belt of this thing as well. I'm just starting to get in the zone of being in the garage this weekend, and I'm going through my supplies, and guys, we don't have freaking chips. So we need to go get some chips, and we're gonna take the MR2 just so I can get a little bit of a test drive, and so I know what it sounds like, what it feels like, so I have some base to compare to when the work is complete. And any other problems that we need to be listening for or looking for, let's go for a ride in Mr. 2. Slight delay of game, man. I got my keys, got my wallet, and now it's starting to rain outside. And it looks like it's about to start getting heavy, and I just got a call from the dude doing the powder coating, and he needs me to meet him and drop everything off. So I'm gonna go do that, probably get the chips on the way, but rest assured, before we tear it down, we're gonna take a little ride in the MR2, check it out, and see what it's all about. Super pumped, super excited, just dropped off the covers and the brakes. Dude says he's gonna get them freaking knocked out super quick. He actually showed me some of the work he had in his trunk. He had a tubular full race manifold that he just ceramic coated. It looked freaking baller, man. Really excited. Yeah, more exciting things to come. With that done, let's get our chips and let's head back to the house. Not my typical Tim's, but delicious nonetheless. Well, the remainder of last night was pretty wet and gross. There was a lightning storm and there were no conditions to be able to take that car out and actually see what it could do. So waiting till this morning, waking up, it's already looking like there's some clouds on the mountains. There's still a little moisture on the ground, but right now it's perfect. There's a nice breeze. So we're gonna get the MR2 fired up. We're gonna take it out, see what it's all about. Then we're gonna come back and get in the garage. I'm excited about today. It's nice and cool. Should be able to have the door open and have a nice breeze. It's gonna be a good day today. thing is pretty cool, man. And oh, check this out. Here's some technology for y'all. That controls windows. Ooh. All right, we still got a little bit of sprinkles, but let's go check this thing out. Really did seem as if this car was almost the same size as a Z. When you're inside, I feel like I'm driving something really, really small. Definitely doesn't have that wide feeling inside of it like the Z does. So far, so good. Everything's really responsive and everything's running really smooth. So get out to some of our usual spots so we can kind of open it up a bit and see how she feels. One thing I'm noticing is the gas pedal feels a little bit heavy, almost like it really takes a significant amount of pressure or force to push the gas pedal down. Maybe that's just natural for an MR2, or we'll look at that and definitely try and clean the throttle body out a bit too and see if we can improve the gas pedal feel. Yeah, it takes a lot of effort to push the gas pedal down before you're actually getting anything out of it. So this is really cool. You guys are definitely looking behind me. I don't get to see behind me as much. Just looking at the back of this car is pretty cool, man. Everything about this little car is pretty cool. Okay. All right, she's got some pep. I could only imagine if this thing was turboed, how that'd feel. Whew. I like it, man. It's super peppy. Just if the gas pedal wasn't so heavy. Watch out, guy. So overall impression, I like it, man. I like it a lot. And if it was like a turbo, man, it would be MR2 in the garage, man. Oh yeah. Let me get her in the shop and we'll talk about the way ahead. One thing I'm seeing that we might need to modify is this Raiders Nation tag light. We're gonna have to change that out. That's definitely something we're gonna have to fix. It's obviously broken. Who wants Raiders stuff on their car? At its very core, at its very essence, what we're doing with these two cars this week is basically a timing belt change. Now for this one, it's all for the sake of maintenance. This one, the timing belt's coming off and we are changing the timing belt, but it's also we can pull the cams out and change those, the cam gears, the CAS bracket, and actually do some serious upgrades. I'm gonna get right at the process of tearing this engine down to where we needed to get it to start putting our shelf of upgrades back onto the car. And this guy, we're gonna start slowly and methodically tearing it apart, really taking our time to inspect all the other little things and learn a little bit in the process. complicated than I thought it was gonna be, just because everything is so tight. Holy cow, taking things apart for no reason other than to get to other things to take those apart, but we're there. What you saw is you saw me take off the radiator fan just so I could get the pulley puller on the front there, and everything's been pulled off the front, the head is bare. During that time lapse, while I was taking the exhaust cam off, you would have saw the time lapse just kind of ended. That's because of two things. One, that the battery on the camera died. Two, I started having a little sketchy situation with the 7 retainer and the 5 retainer. In each one of those, one of the bolts was extremely tough and extremely tight, and I started freaking out because the last thing I wanted was for that bolt to break off inside the head. Eventually, I got the retainers off, and it turns out that the bolt wasn't tight in the head, the bolt was tight in the retainer. It's been a stressful hour or so while the battery's been charging on the camera again, but let me show you where we're at. So these are the 2 bolts that are in there, and one of them, this one right here, is kind of mushroomed out because I was trying to get it out, and this one is just messed up, like on the shaft of it. For whatever reason, these 2 were bound up inside of these 2. I just so happened to have 2 more bolts from a 300ZX, and they happen to be the exact same bolts as the ones for the RB26. So 2 fresh bolts, and these ones slide in and out of these retainers perfectly fine. No issues there. Problem solved. Really touch and go for a while, so ugh. I want to talk to you about one of the parts that I'm going to be installing that I don't think I've really touched on too much, so check this out. This is the CAS bracket, and this is a Platinum Racing CAS bracket. Billet aluminum. You see here that this has got little nubs that are raised up, and this does not. These are flat. Because a lot of race cars do not have that front cover on the timing belt. This one's been cut out, but there's a rubber gasket that goes right here, and inside that rubber gasket there's 3 spacers, provide the distance needed set far enough off of the cam gears. Because I don't have that, you could see on my CAS the scraping that's been going on inside there, and that's actually from the bolts on the cam gear itself, because this didn't have those little spacers because I'm running a clear plastic cover. You can install the gasket, but it didn't work for me. It didn't space me out correctly, and I was still having problems. And eventually I just cut it out like this, and etc, etc. So now with this, we no longer have that need. Whether we're running a clear cover or a hard cover or no cover, this provides the spacing of the CAS off the cam gear exactly where it needs to be. Another difference that you're going to see is cutout parts in between the mounting parts for our aftermarket cam gears. I now have access to all the adjustment screws on the adjustable cam gear, whereas unlike the original one where you could see if you put these adjustable gears behind the OEM bracket, you can't get to any of the adjustment screws, man. They're completely covered. That is the purpose of this platinum piece, which is freaking awesome and amazing. I actually have a brand new plastic front cover that I'm going to be installing, and I'm going to be trimming the inside edge kind of like this, but a little bit not as far out. So now the time has come to start installation, and it's not just installation, it's modification. We are installing the Poncams. So much epic goodness, man. Excited. These have to be put in a very delicate way. Everything has to be torqued to a very specific spec in stages. So I'm gonna take my time, get this done off camera, and once I have both these cams back in, I'll be right back with you. One cam is now installed, man, and I'm telling you, I am a nervous wreck. I just don't want to mess anything up. I can't stress enough. Whenever you do anything, no matter how experienced you feel, you got to read the instructions. And that's kind of what made me just that much more extra cautious. For one, it talks about the positioning of the cams. It's definitely been translated, so it's kind of hard to understand. The one thing I can't stress enough, dude, is you always got to have the manual. It tells you exactly where you need to put the pins on the outside. And it also tells you the torque sequence, the torque specs, all this stuff. Very, very important information, because last thing you want to do is crack a $500 cam. I'm not trying to have the bad day this dude's having. There was one piece of information here inside the package, this little supplement, and it talked about the potential grinding away of metal in the head. Oh my gosh, guys, it got me stressed out. So I took all the lifters out and tried to put the cam in, but the lobes were still touching individual valves. Just couldn't get a good seat of the entire camshaft because, you know, you're not going to. The part that was in question is like this lobe and how close it comes to the metal there. So that's what I needed to be testing out. I was confident that it was going to be okay. It felt good, it felt right, and I'm here to tell you for the Poncam Type Bs, no grinding required. We made the clearance. So these are now in, everything is good. One cam's in, still got the other cam to go. I think I'm gonna go eat some chips, relax a little bit, count the extra gray hairs I have, get this intake one, and then we'll meet back. In the meantime, I've received a text message with some pictures of my valve covers, and guys, I'm freaking stoked. Freaking stoked. It just kind of occurred to me that a lot of you guys are here to just kind of see this progress, see this car, see what I'm doing, just generally just be entertained and interested, but some of you are here to learn. And I'm not really teaching anything. All I'm doing is talking about being stressed out. Let's talk about how we're putting these cams down. So according to the manual, you need to work in steps and in layers. You're gonna tighten this one first, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, okay? Inward and then slowly working outward in a zigzag pattern. I'm making sure that I'm down at eye level and I can see the gap that the cap still has between the head and the cap. I'm tightening this one and I'm getting to a certain level, and then I'll go to the next one and get to that same gap, and then I'll do all of them at that gap, and then I'll close the gap just a little bit more on the first one, and then do all of them to that little gap again. And it's taking about 5 or 6 cycles before I'm closing that gap completely, and that's the important part, guys. Little teeny tiny steps and patience, and we're gonna get there. It's good. One other thing I didn't mention that's also important is you have to be even in your pressure side to side, so you can't go down too far on one side and not enough on the other side. Yeah, anyway, even, nice and easy. Now I just gotta torque them all to specs, which I got my torque wrench, I got my manual. All right, so I'm having to do a little bit of the cha-cha, man. A couple steps forward, a couple steps back, because I'm installing the Mines baffle plates into the valve covers. So if you're doing the same thing, you need to make this change. On cylinders 2 and 3, this is where these extra long screws are, because that's where those little covers go. If you're gonna do the baffle plates, you have to actually move these long screws back to caps number 6 and 7. So cylinders 5 and 6, and then you put those caps onto these areas instead. So I've already done the exhaust side, gotta do the intake side. So cams are all good. I've had some lunch, I've had some chips, I've had some relax, and now it's time to keep moving forward. So next is the cam gears, man, and I'm kind of excited about this. You know, this is kind of what people see, you know, I mean, not to be superficial about it all. I mean, it's all very functional and very exciting, but this is sexy. Oh man. You can see how it's marked RB and intake side. It's already preset at the thing. And if we just roughly kind of set it on, oh man, oh man. Let me get the other one on real quick. Freaking sexy. Let me get these screws down, and then I'm really stoked to see what the platinum bracket looks like on it. Whew, man, it is a significant while later. I got in a zone, I started installing some stuff, and it's exciting, and it's gorgeous, and dudes. Got the belt, got the CAS bracket, you could see the harmonic balancers on. How freaking smexy does this look? Oh man, this is looking hot. Went ahead and turned it a couple revolutions. The cams are molto bene. Everything's good to go. No problems, no interference issues, no touching. Everything, the clearances are good. Everything is good and wonderful. It's getting late. I'm tired, I'm dirty, I'm sweaty, I'm gross. I'm gonna go ahead and take some time to get this new cover prepped, get it ready. By the way, I've gotten a text now with the final look of the new valve covers. He said I could pick them up tonight, so I might actually go do that, and we'll finish the baffling and we'll get this thing back up and running again. So I just got back because I got a phone call. I met the dude that had the valve covers. He got them finished. They look freaking amazing. I haven't totally unwrapped them yet, but dude, I'm stoked to have them back tonight, because now I can get those baffle covers put in and we could be rocking and rolling tomorrow, because there is some RTV that has to dry and seal and all that good stuff. But oh yeah, here we go in the plastic. Why don't you be helpful and hold the camera?
Oh my gosh, you're a genius.
So I chose a 2-stage color. It's like a red, and then there was also a clear coat stage that needed to follow it. I think it was Illusion Cherry, I think was the color. Gosh, this is sick. Holy cow. It just, the camera does not do any justice to this color at all. The lighting in this room doesn't, kind of actually.
Oh
the
my
lighting
gosh.
in this room does not do any justice to this color at all. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it in the sun. Like, you should really see what it looked like right now. But you will, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Good morning. Back in the garage again, man. Oh, I'm really excited about today because today is gonna be a good day. But before we start, before I put those valve covers on, I wanna take them out in the sunshine so you can actually see the colors because, guys, they're still just blowing me away. All right, man, look at this freaking color, dude. It is sick. This is a brand new center strip that I bought some time ago. I had it specifically for this reason because I knew taking the old one off would slightly damage it, and it did. Like, this freaking color is so dope. Like I said, the brakes are being done in the exact same color. That's something we'll do at another time. I'm gonna do a video showing how to do a brake caliper rebuild, and when we do that, eventually we'll get around to putting those iron brakes on. But today's agenda, man, is to get everything put back together. Last night, I went ahead and did the Mines Baffles. I got those taken care of. There's some RTV involved, and there's some drying times, and I wanted to make sure that it could have overnight to get cured. And I also had to clean the inside of the valve covers because there was still a little bit of sand left over from the sandblasting valve covers. Looking fire. Inside, you could see the baffle kits are installed. The instructions that come with the baffle kits are in Japanese. I found a place online where I got the instructions in English. I'm gonna put a link to that set of instructions. Basically, you get the baffles, you get some sponges, and there's a way that you put the sponges in there along with the original metal baffling material that was inside there. This stuff right here still goes back in along with that sponge stuff that, here's some leftover sponge. If you're doing this, make sure you change out your valve cover gaskets. This is cheap insurance, man. You gotta have that proper seal. They become very hard to seal. They get compressed, and over time they just don't do the job. It's not worth it to skimp on this and end up having a leak down the road. I am almost as excited as the day I first got this thing running, man. It looks it looks so good, dude. Oh my gosh. Check this out. Oh. Whoa. That lettering, this color, man, oh my gosh. Freaking holes turned out really cool. And they don't, I mean, they don't even really stand out. The platinum bracket. Oh, dudettes, freaking really stoked about how this is coming along. Like, I'm glad I didn't do this from the get-go because now I get the chance to kind of like reinvigorate my lust for this car, and that is just priceless, man. It's awesome. Anyway, I couldn't sleep. I've been up really early since like 5 in the morning, just kind of tweaking and whatever. My stomach says I need to eat breakfast, so I'm gonna go do that. Once I finish with that, man, I'll probably get everything buttoned up, and then yeah. Well, boys and girls, I have reached completion, man. Everything's back together. Check this beast out, man. She looks amazing. Amazing, man. Everything's back together. Everything is cool. Oh, that red just pops, dude. And I'll definitely have to do some pretty fire shots. Make sure I'm putting them up on the Instagrams. Kind of good news, kind of bad news. This is all just scraps. There are no more projects on the cart, and there are no more projects on the shelf, except for that. That box right there, that is a complete set of polyurethane bushings that someday, sometime, somehow will get everything installed. Someday when I have time to actually drop the rear subframe and completely renew and rejuvenate everything. But dudes, cart shelf is empty and the cart is empty. But before we go, man, let's start the Z and see how these new cams really sound, dude. I'm so stoked. I'm pumped. Now, the timing is not yet set. This is the first time I've started it since the car's been finished. So we still gotta adjust the timing and everything like that, but man, do you hear that loping? Oh my gosh, that sounds mean. dudes. Oh my gosh, that sounds freaking sick. Dude, she sounds like a right and proper race car, man. Holy crap. Cool freaking beans, man. Dudes, I'm freaking stoked, man. Oh, did you hear that freaking chop? Just how'd that go again? That freaking sounds sick. That's exciting, man. That's really, really freaking dope. That was a huge project. I did not even get to touching this car, and that's fine. I'm excited to get into this MR2. That's probably something I'm gonna get working on this week, man. Start tearing this thing down. That is gonna be the next thing that we're gonna be working on together for a little while, is this MR2. But really for the RBZ, dude, it is where I really want it to be right now. The exhaust, we just redid the exhaust, we got the cams, the powder coating's done, and the guy's still doing the brakes. The brakes are gonna be the same color as the valve covers. When it's all complete, it's gonna be freaking sick. So what is next for Project RBZ? Next is the freaking dyno, man. The dyno. We're gonna get her dialed in, we're gonna get her tuned, we're gonna get her on the dyno, we're gonna see how much power she can make. So stay tuned for that, man. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Some major event is happening very, very soon, and my car may be headed to California. I'm really looking forward to the future when this thing's dialed in and tuned, because, man, this next year is going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to it, so I hope you are too. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao a tutti and aloha. Bye-bye.